So I just want to really quickly just give you a demo. This is to supplement your balsa wood building instructions that you're given on Weebly. So in order to get to this step, we're going to have to have completed our side view. So that should be completed, as well as our connecting pieces that are going to connect our bridge together. So we need both of those in order to get to this point. So make sure you and your group have finished all those things. I'm also going to need some wax paper, just one strip per side that you're going to glue, styrofoam, some multicolored glue. I'm going to either use some of these hand balsa wood cutters, or you can use these Pittsco timber cutters that have a little blade inside and you can snip the wood in there. Some people like different ones. I tend to use the hand clippers. I feel like I'm more in control with them, so that's what I tend to use. I'm also going to need some pins, and I'm also going to need some balsa wood. That's going to come in handy too. I also have my coffee. That's going to really help me get going. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to take our side view here, and I'm actually going to put it on top of my styrofoam, and then on top of that, I'm going to put my wax paper. Everybody get that? Styrofoam, final drawings, wax paper. Okay, so I'm going to take that, and I'm actually going to pin it. So just a side note, before you pin these on there, please make sure that your all of your view ends up on top of the styrofoam. Because if it's not on top of the styrofoam, and I've got part of my bridge hanging off the edge of my styrofoam, there's nothing for it to pin to, and that's going to present a challenge. So make sure that everything is on top of the styrofoam. Next, I'm going to actually take my balsa wood pieces, and I'm just going to lay them on top of my drawings. I'm going to get it where I want it. I'm going to mark it, and then I'm going to cut it. All right, so once I've got my piece of wood marked, you can see the little bitty mark on there. So once I've got it marked, I'm actually going to cut it with my little clippers. Just a quick little pointer on here. In order to release these, all you have to do is take this little pin right here, push it up, and then they spring open. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on my cutter, and then I'm going to cut it right at my line. Now, you can actually cut those at different angles. You'll see on your little clippers, if you look really close, it has angles on there, and you can use those angles to give you different angles of cutting if you need a certain angle. So now I'm going to take this piece of wood, and I'm going to just stick it on here. You notice I've started with my roadway, and then I'm going to pin it on there the way that I have pinned them on there. So if you notice and you look really close, I've actually pinned them so they're kind of at angles that are opposing each other. So that's just a way that it prevents my pieces from sliding up and down. It also prevents it from sliding back and forth and coming up off the board. So I would recommend pinning it this way. One way that you don't want to pin is pinning it straight through your piece of wood. That's just going to go ahead and start deteriorating your bridge if you're pinning right through your material. So make sure that you're not doing that. Now the next step would be what I recommend, just doing little pieces, cutting them and filling them in, gluing them in, and then pinning them. So there's lots of different ways to do this bridge, but what I have found most useful is doing it the way that I'm showing you right now. Now what I can do, if I don't know the specific angle, and I'm trying to cut pieces to fit in here to have a butt joint, remember your different types of joints, what I can do is I can just put my piece of wood on top of where I'm going to cut it, and then I can just kind of eyeball the line of where my piece of wood needs to go, and then I'm going to cut it so that it fits right in there. So you can just kind of like look over top of your joint that you're getting ready to cut, just to measure and see where it's going to line up so that you cut it in the right position. So now I've got that piece put in here. I'm just going to slide it in. You notice how it fits right in there because I just eyeballed it. I put the piece over top of it and cut it based on that angle. So one thing that I would recommend, this is a good point where I would sand if I need to sand the edges of my piece. And then I'm going to put just a little dab of glue on there to put it into place. Now notice that I'm going to put the glue on the ends of this, not all around the joint, but I'm going to put it on the end of it where it's going to make contact with the other piece. So that's going to be where you need the glue. You don't need the glue around the joint. Wood glue, when it dries, it soaks into the grains of the wood. So you want that right at the joint. You don't want it covering and puddling around the joint. I'll take points off for that. And that's using way too much glue. So just a little dab will do right on the end of your piece. All right, you'll notice that as it comes out here, I'm just going to put a little dab right at the end here. And that's really all that I need. You can see it up real close. I don't need a whole lot of glue. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to put it right. I'm going to put some on the other side too. But just for this case, I'm going to show you. I just put it right in there. And then you notice that I can't really see the glue right there at the joint, but I know that it's there and I know that it's in the areas that really counts. So once you've done that and you've glued your piece in, then you can pin it. And I see lots of people all the time, they pin all their pieces together before they've even glued it. So there's really no point in pinning it together if it's not glued. So the only reason that I pinned these in place before gluing them is because it just keeps it steady as I'm cutting all these pieces in between. So this is just one way to do it. There's more than one way to cut, but I found that this is most useful. So once I've got all of this side done and it's dried, then I can go ahead and start on my next piece. And while I am doing this and I am cutting and gluing and sanding this one side, my partner could be gluing and doing the connecting pieces. So they don't need the same drawing, but all they need is their other drawing, and they can be working on that. That way you're making best use of your time. So once all of your pieces have dried, then you're going to take it off of the board, and you'll notice the reason why we use wax paper, because it dries to the wax paper and not to your final drawing, and most of the time, even if you've got some glue on the wax paper, it will come off pretty easily. So I can take my bridge, my final design off, and then I can just remove the wax paper from my final drawing, and that way I can use my final drawing again to do my other side of my bridge. So there you go. You've got the inside scoop on how to build your bridges. Now go build bridges that are going to hold hundreds and hundreds of pounds.